حتى نتحقق التدريب وتعطوني
لترشيح عماد ميشيل عون.
المعارضة السورية هي بتحدد من يمثلها.
Good afternoon, you're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Lebanese, and these are the news trending today. March 14 youth groups gather before the military court to protest against the release of former Information Minister Michel Smeha. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry warns that Iran is increasing its arms supplies to Hezbollah. And 4 people are killed in a high school shooting in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan. Free Patriotic Movement founder MP Michel Aoun has had a phone conversation with Future Movement leader MP Saad Hariri regarding the ongoing presidential vacuum. Hariri reportedly welcomed the reconciliation between the Lebanese forces and the FPM, saying he has repeatedly urged Christians to take such a step. Both also discussed Hariri's initiative to end the presidential vacuum, highlighting the importance of heading to Parliament on February 8th to elect a new head of state. Separately, Hariri contacted Marada Movement MP Sleiman Frangieh to discuss necessary steps to end the vacuum and reactivate the state and its constitutional institutions. March 14, youth groups gathered before the military court to protest against the release of former Information Minister Michel Smeha. Meanwhile, the Islamic gathering in Tripoli held a meeting during which it also denounced Smeha's release. Maronite Patriarch Bashar al-Aghi has met with Pope Francis at the Vatican to update him on the local situation in Lebanon, particularly the presidential stalemate. The national news agency reported that Rai briefed the pontiff on his contacts with the political rivals in Lebanon to persuade them to fill the power vacuum as soon as possible. Activists have demanded that Health Minister Wael Abu Faour declares a state of public health emergency over the persistent trash crisis that has edged away at the livelihoods of citizens since last July. Around 15 protesters affiliated with the We Want Accountability group rallied outside the ministry's new headquarters in the Beirut suburb of Bir Hassan to demand health measures that ensure the safety of people as mounds of trash remained scattered around the capital and Mount Lebanon. They called for the formation of a central emergency committee in addition to the drafting of a contingency plan to fend off the effects of the massing waste. They also urged municipalities to expose the groups and individuals responsible for burning the waste and refer them to the general prosecution. Lebanon's emergency response teams have warned of an expected storm that will hit the country in the evening, urging people to take precautions. In a statement, the General Directorate of Civil Defense advised people to remain vigilant and refrain from mobilizing when the storm intensifies, except for emergencies, adding that its members were on full alert. A similar warning was issued by the Internal Security Forces, which urged citizens and residents to remain cautious when driving and check the roads conditions before venturing to any mountain areas. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has warned that Iran was sending Hezbollah arms through Syria, expressing concern that the military aid to the party's fighters was increasing. Addressing reporters in Riyadh at a joint news conference with Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Adel al-Jubair, Kerry said the group has around 80,000 missiles. Kerry and Jubair spoke after they attended a meeting of the Six Nation Gulf Cooperation Council.
We are confident that with good initiative in the next day or so, those talks can get going, and that the UN representative, Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura, will be convening people in an appropriate manner for the proximity talks that will be the first meeting in Geneva to begin to lay down the process to try very hard to implement the Geneva Communique. We all agreed that immediately after the completion of the first round of the Syria discussions, the International Syria Support Group will convene.
We work with our American friends in these areas in terms of exchange of information, intelligence, in terms of training, in terms of ballistic missile defense, in terms of enhancing our defensive capabilities. We work with our American friends on trying to find a way to remove Bashar al-Assad from Syria and move the country towards a better future. We work with the United States on bringing stability and security in Yemen, in which Iran will have no role.
Coming up next, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences pledges to double its membership of women and minorities by 2020. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Prime Minister Tamam Slam has met with his Canadian counterpart Justin Trudeau at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Both reportedly discussed the current situation and the recent developments in Lebanon and the region. Joining us on Skype is our very own Yumna Naufa, live in Davos. How, Yumna?
Hi, how are you, Linda?
Good, how are you? We miss you here.
Good, I miss you too. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yumna, tell us about the atmosphere at the World Economic Forum.
The World Economic Forum this year in Davos has been an incredible experience. The founder, Mr. Klaus Schwab, Professor Klaus Schwab, as he is called, decided to make the theme about the fourth industrial revolution and how the internet is leading the way in technology, medicine, when it comes to youth empowerment. And as part of the Global Shapers of Beirut and working for FutureTV, I was here representing Beirut, Lebanon. We've had so many amazing panels. We've had one with, which you just mentioned, with the Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Justin Trudeau, about closing the gender gap. We've had one with the COO of Facebook, Ms. Sheryl Sandberg. We've gotten to see Christine Lagarde, the IMF chief. Everybody's here talking about their hopes for 2016, and hopefully it's going to be a good year ahead. In minus 14 degrees Celsius weather, it's very cold here, but we're keeping it warm.
I hope you're staying warm, right? Can you tell us a little more about the Lebanese delegation's contribution to the forum?
So the Lebanese delegation was pretty good this year in the sense because the Prime Minister of Lebanon was here, of course. Prime Minister Tamam Salam was here. He was on a panel about security yesterday, chaired by Christian Amanpour, CNN's Christian Amanpour. The panel was with with the Iraqi Prime Minister, Mr. Haidar al-Abadi, and they were talking about terrorism and the problem of Daesh in Iraq and in Lebanon. The Prime Minister said that what he was hoping for 2016 was to be able to keep Daesh away, to take care of refugees. And he spoke and he stressed on the absolute importance of moderates in Lebanon, because he knows that, as everybody's been talking about now, the biggest problem is the Sunni Shia alliances and divisive alliances, I should say, that are taking over the region. And he spoke about how moderates should help in Lebanon and should rise up and be the ones that speak for the people. He also mentioned on the sidelines of the panel that Lebanon had been very patient vis-a-vis the waste management crisis, vis-a-vis the presidency vacuum that has been going on since May of 2014. Also, he was joined by Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil, who was here and who made sure to tell me to talk about the Lebanese delegation and how it was representative here. Of course, the education minister was here as well. Eli Bousaab was here, and he talked about how Lebanon is doing well geographically compared to other regions in the country, and how they're still pushing for education and for youth empowerment and hopefully creating jobs in Lebanon. It's been a tough year for Lebanon. 2015 was a very tough year. So they all remain pretty optimistic that hopefully 2016 is going to be a better year.
Can you tell us perhaps what is the delegation, the Lebanese delegation, bringing back to Lebanon after attending this forum?
So Prime Minister Tamam Salam met with, as you just said, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. He also met with several Arab presidents and ministers, prime ministers as well. He met with, as I said, Haidar al-Abadi. There was a very important delegation from Saudi Arabia as well, and they discussed bilateral and binational, I should say, security measures and how to work together. At the forefront of every single talk was the Syrian refugee crisis. Mr. Tamam Salam was here to ask for helping Lebanon with containing the refugee crisis, which, as you know, is not only hampering Lebanon now, but it's gone on a global scale because it's hampering Europe with the migration issue that's taking place. And the Queen of Jordan was here as well, and she was talking also about the Syrian refugee problems. So that was very much at the forefront. So we're hoping that with the foreign minister, the prime minister, and the education minister, they brought back some good news for Lebanon and some foreign help as well.
And what are you bringing back with you, Yumna?
I'm bringing back myself. I'll be there Monday.
Other than some Swiss chocolates.
I will get 2 Swiss chocolates. It was a very incredible experience. We got to meet, I'm part of a community called the Global Shapers, and I'm representing Beirut. This is for youth empowerment, giving a voice to the young generation, the one that started the Arab Spring in 2011 when they wanted their voices to be heard with reform, calling for change in their nations. And I'm here representing Lebanon, hopefully putting Lebanon on the map, and basically saying that we're just as important as every other country in the region and in the world.
That was our very own Yumna Naufal live in Davos. Thank you so much, Yumna.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
Bye. Moving on to Canada, 4 people were killed and at least 2 were wounded when a gunman opened fire at a high school and a second location in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan. A male suspect was in custody, but officials have not yet given a motivation for Friday's shooting in La Loche, an Aboriginal community 600 kilometers north of the city of Saskatoon. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, speaking from the annual World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, said what had happened was every parent's worst nightmare.
The country's heart is breaking for the people of La Loche, Saskatchewan today. There was a shooting in the community. 5 people were killed. 2 others are in critical condition. The situation is no longer active, and the suspected shooter has been taken into custody. Obviously, this is every parent's worst nightmare. When I spoke with community leaders, they obviously expressed that the community is reeling, and all of us across this country's hearts are going out to the families and to the whole community.
And further south, a winter storm that could bury parts of the U.S. Middle Atlantic region under 3 feet of snow slammed into Washington on Friday, threatening the nation's capital with record accumulations as it barreled up the East Coast. The blizzard started to blanket the Washington area during the early afternoon. 6 people had died in car crashes as a wintry mix spread across Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which organizes Hollywood's annual Oscar Awards ceremony, has pledged to double its membership of women and minorities by 2020. The announcement came after a week-long furor over a lack of diversity in the Oscar Awards, with an all-white cast in the nominations for the main acting categories for the 2nd year running. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. March 14 youth groups gather before the military court to protest against the release of former Information Minister Michel Smeha. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry warns that Iran is increasing its arms supplies to Hezbollah. And 4 people are killed in a high school shooting in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan. Those are your top stories for this Saturday. I'm Linda Tanim, and I wish you all a very nice weekend.
أنا كانت حققت وتعطوني
لترشيح عماد ميشيل عون.
المعارضة السورية هي بتحدد من يمثلها.